In the Philippine Sea, there is a region where the established laws of oceanography and physics seem to completely break down. 250 miles south of Tokyo, at exactly 34 degrees 4 minutes north and 139 degrees 31 minutes east, lies the Ma no Umi, the Dragon's Triangle. For centuries, this desolate stretch of the Pacific Ocean has swallowed military vessels, massive cargo freighters, and scientific research ships without a single distress signal ever being broadcast. But the true scientific mystery is not that these massive ships disappear from the surface. The true mystery, which researchers have only recently uncovered, is what happens to them after they sink. We are descending into the Izu-Ogasawara Trench, a massive tectonic scar plunging over 9,000 meters into the Earth's crust. Here, the Kuroshio current, one of the strongest ocean currents on the planet, collides with intense submarine volcanic activity. This violent geological collision creates underwater rogue waves, massive localized magnetic anomalies, and deep-sea whirlpools that operate completely independent of surface weather. What you are looking at is not a normal shipwreck. At a depth of 3,200 meters, the crushing water pressure exceeds 300 atmospheres. Yet these massive steel vessels are not crushed. They are not resting flat on the ocean floor, broken apart by the impact. Driven by inexplicable hydrostatic forces and terrifying tectonic magnetism, these ships are standing perfectly vertical, impaled in the deep-sea sediment like massive steel tombstones. This is a graveyard that defies the basic physics of buoyancy, gravity, and decay. Look closely at the hull of this 500-foot freighter. It vanished from radar in 1989. There is no structural damage from an impact. The steel is not rusting at the normal rate. Instead, it is being coated in a strange, thick layer of chemosynthetic bacteria, thriving on the hydrogen sulfide venting from the fractured bedrock below. The ocean down here is completely silent, stripped of the usual acoustic signatures of deep-sea life. The dense thermocline layer above acts as an acoustic mirror, trapping the sound of the violent tectonic grinding below and reflecting surface sonar away. This creates a perfect acoustic void. No sonar pings return, no distress beacons escape. As our cameras pan across this abyssal plain, you can see dozens of these vertical wrecks emerging from the permanent midlight of the trench. They are perfectly aligned. Every single bow is pointing directly to magnetic north, despite the chaotic deep-sea currents that should have scattered them across miles of seafloor. This perfect alignment suggests a magnetic anomaly so incredibly powerful it can orient tens of thousands of tons of falling steel before it strikes the bottom. Scientists have sent remotely operated vehicles into this zone to map the debris field, but the extreme electromagnetic interference frequently burns out their optical sensors. We are looking at the highest resolution imagery ever captured of this cursed site. This is not a random scattering of lost ships. It is a highly organized, perfectly preserved museum of maritime tragedy, maintained by geological and oceanographic forces we are only just beginning to map. Why does the Kuroshio current suddenly dive thousands of meters? Why do the tectonic ridges here pulse with localized electromagnetic fields strong enough to blind a military submarine? And most importantly, what happens to a modern vessel crosses the boundary into this hydromagnetic anomaly? The ships here are not merely lost, they are caught in an underwater mechanism that we do not fully understand. As we descend deeper into the trench, past the vertical wrecks and into the geological fault line itself, the real danger of the Dragon's Triangle reveals itself. We are about to see the engine that drives this incredible phenomenon, a force so powerful it has kept this cursed place a total secret until now.
To understand the Dragon's Triangle, we must abandon the traditional models of oceanography. We are operating at a depth of 3,200 meters inside the Izu-Ogasawara Trench, a violently active tectonic boundary, where the massive Philippine Sea plate is being aggressively crushed beneath the Pacific plate. But the true scientific impossibility here is not just the extreme depth or the violent seismic activity. It is the unprecedented, terrifying electromagnetic and chemical environment generated by this specific geological tear. As our remotely operated vehicles deploy their scientific payload, the raw data completely shatters our understanding of deep-sea physics. The analog magnetometers instantly peg to maximum limits, recording a localized magnetic anomaly so powerful it effectively overrides the Earth's natural polarity. The jagged, sheared walls of the basalt chasm expose paleomagnetic stripes, ancient records of the Earth's shifting magnetic poles, violently torn open and bleeding raw electromagnetic energy directly into the hypersaline water. This massive, invisible magnetic grid is the invisible force physically holding thousands of tons of steel perfectly vertical against the chaotic deep-sea currents. The chemistry of this environment is equally lethal. Water sampling reveals superheated, highly pressurized fluid venting from the black smokers at temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius. Because of the immense pressure, the water does not boil. It becomes a supercritical fluid, aggressively dissolving massive concentrations of iron, sulfur, and heavy metals. When this toxic, hyperdense sludge hits the freezing abyssal water, it creates brutal density shears, invisible physical ceilings of water so dense that objects cannot sink through them and normal currents cannot penetrate them. This creates a terrifying, perfectly preserved anoxic dead zone. But the most horrifying scientific discovery is what this environment does to the wrecks themselves. The massive steel hulls of these sunken vessels are acting as colossal induction coils within the fluctuating magnetic field. The ships are actually generating their own extreme heat, boiling the freezing water on contact. This heat, combined with the highly acidic, heavy metal-rich water, triggers an aggressively accelerated galvanic corrosion. The anomaly is physically pulling the iron atoms out of the ships, dissolving solid steel into glowing orange sludge, while perfectly preserving delicate glass and non-ferrous metals. The physical mechanics of the Dragon's Triangle actively prevent us from mapping it. The dense, perfectly aligned forest of vertical steel, combined with the thick halocline layers, completely absorbs and shatters high-frequency sonar pings, creating massive, perfect acoustic shadows. Surface radar is blinded by the magnetic interference, and sonar is swallowed by the void. It is a perfect, naturally occurring stealth zone. But this impossible environment is incredibly unstable. As we push our instruments deeper into the core of the anomaly, the immense tectonic pressures violently shift. The intense vibration causes the seemingly solid abyssal mud to instantly liquefy, triggering massive releases of ancient, highly toxic hydrogen sulfide gas trapped beneath the crust. This is not just a passive graveyard, it is an active, violent, and highly destructive geological machine. The very forces that trapped these ships perfectly in the dark are now violently tearing them apart, sending massive tectonic shockwaves through the dense water that strip the hulls naked and trigger colossal, devastating underwater avalanches. The Dragon's Triangle is a place where the basic laws of physics are warped into something deadly and completely alien.
we have documented the terrifying science of how this place destroys and preserves human engineering, but the raw data cannot prepare us for the true, incomprehensible magnitude of this phenomenon. The human brain is simply not equipped to process the true physical magnitude of the deep ocean. When we look at numbers on a chart, 6,000 meters deep, thousands of tons of steel, currents moving at 10 knots, they remain abstract. To truly understand the terrifying reality of the Dragon's Triangle, we must make its impossible scale visible. When we deploy military-grade chemical flares into the permanent midnight of the Izu-Ogasawara Trench, the light does not simply illuminate the sea floor. It reveals a geological void so unimaginably vast that it could easily swallow entire mountain ranges. As the blinding white magnesium burns away the absolute darkness, the true horror of this cursed place is finally exposed. We are looking at a 3-mile-wide canyon packed completely dense with the crushed, rusted remains of hundreds of colossal human vessels. This is not a scattering of lost ships. It is a massive, highly organized, perfectly vertical steel metropolis. The sheer volume of mass suspended in this water column is scientifically staggering. Look at the scale of this ultra-large crude carrier. It is over 400 meters long, taller than the Empire State Building, and it weighs over 500,000 tons. Yet, the localized magnetic anomaly generated by the torn tectonic plates below is so unfathomably powerful that it holds this colossal mountain of steel perfectly vertical, treating 500,000 tons of dead weight as if it were entirely weightless. The main anchor chain of this supertanker, with individual steel links the size of city buses, is pulled perfectly taut, stretched horizontally over the abyss by an invisible, terrifying magnetic force. But the scale of the Dragon's Triangle is not just measured in mass, it is measured in time. The extreme hypersaline anoxic water creates a perfect preservation chamber. Because there is absolutely zero dissolved oxygen at the bottom of the trench, normal bacterial decay simply stops. As we descend to the very bottom of the vertical steel forest, we find the crushed, perfect remains of a 16th century wooden Spanish galleon completely trapped beneath the sheer weight of a modern 1980s cargo freighter. The massive bronze cannons of the galleon are fused with thick, heavy manganese nodules, deep-sea minerals that take millions of years to grow, hyper-accelerated by the boiling, highly charged chemical venting of the magma below. This phenomenon is so massive that it literally alters the fluid dynamics of the entire Philippine Sea. The sheer density of the perfectly aligned steel hulls acts as a colossal artificial reef that violently blocks the natural deep-sea currents, generating incredibly fast, highly destructive localized vortexes that rip through the dense water, tearing heavy steel plating apart like wet paper. And when the localized electromagnetic field reaches its peak intensity, the energy release is so massive it physically boils millions of freezing abyssal water instantly, creating a blinding, chaotic cloud of expanding cavitation bubbles miles wide. As we rocket away from the abyss and finally breach the violently churning surface, the true terrifying perspective of the Dragon's Triangle becomes clear. Directly above this massive, impossible graveyard of vertical ships, modern supertankers and military fleets continue to sail through the massive rogue waves of the Philippine Sea. They navigate these cursed coordinates completely blind, entirely unaware of the colossal, mathematically perfect fleet of dead steel waiting silently in the absolute darkness just 3 miles directly beneath their hulls. The scale of human engineering is nothing compared to the violent magnetic gravity of the deep Earth. The real danger of the Dragon's Triangle is not isolated to the ships it swallows. It is a catastrophic, systemic threat that weaponizes the ocean itself. When a massive, modern vessel, like a 400-meter supertanker, is dragged down by the anomaly, it does not simply disappear. It triggers a horrifying chain reaction of environmental and geological destruction. As the colossal steel hull is violently crushed by the unimaginable deep-sea pressure, it releases thousands of tons of toxic crude oil. This is not a surface spill. The massive hydrodynamic drag of the sinking Leviathan pulls this suffocating pitch-black sludge miles down into the abyss, poisoning pristine, ancient deep-sea ecosystems that have remained undisturbed for millions of years. But the danger flows in both directions. The addition of hundreds of thousands of new steel to the vertical graveyard physically blocks and redirects the intense, highly localized deep-sea currents. This creates a terrifying high-speed vertical updraft, a hydrodynamic tornado that forcefully dredges the highly acidic, boiling, heavy metal-rich toxic water from the tectonic vents directly into the upper pelagic zones. We are witnessing a mass casualty event. Entire schools of migrating fish and deep-sea predators are instantly annihilated, their flesh burned away by the sudden intrusion of an alien deep-sea chemistry. When this toxic upwelling finally breaches the surface, it permanently alters the ocean's chemical composition, creating a massive, expanding dead zone that suffocates the very top of the food chain. But the most terrifying danger lies beneath the mud. The immense combined concentrated weight of the constantly expanding steel graveyard is physically crushing the Earth's fragile tectonic crust. The seafloor violently fractures, exposing highly pressurized, superheated magma directly to the freezing abyssal water. The result is a colossal deep-sea steam explosion, a violent localized detonation that instantly flash boils the surrounding ocean and sends a massive, devastating shockwave through the water column. This shockwave violently destabilizes the entire vertical steel forest. In a horrifying domino effect, dozens of massive ships collapse into each other, destroying the delicate, impossible magnetic equilibrium holding them. When the localized magnetic grid collapses, it violently releases a colossal, catastrophic electromagnetic pulse. This massive wave of pure plasma rockets miles into the sky, instantly blinding high-altitude aviation, destroying early warning satellites, and permanently wiping out the navigation systems of the global shipping fleets, desperately trying to avoid the area. The Dragon's Triangle is not just a graveyard. It is a massive, expanding, highly volatile engine of destruction. Every ship it claims adds fuel to the tectonic fire, increasing the localized gravity, worsening the magnetic anomaly, and widening the perimeter of the dead zone. It threatens the entire Pacific current system, the global supply chain, and the fundamental stability of the Earth's crust. And the most terrifying fact is that human engineering cannot stop it. We can only watch as the danger zone relentlessly expands. The true terror of the Dragon's Triangle is not what we understand about the deep ocean. It is what we absolutely cannot explain. Every expedition sent to map this massive graveyard has returned with data
that fundamentally breaks the accepted models of Earth sciences, physics, and thermodynamics. The anomaly is not just a hazard, it is a massive, violent paradox. When we deploy heavily armored analog instruments into the 3,000-meter abyss, the temperature gauges physically pegged to boiling, yet the surrounding water remains completely still and freezing to the touch. The heat is not radiating from a magma vent. It is inexplicably saturating the ambient water column without boiling it. When we fire physical, high-energy acoustic sonar beacons at the basalt bedrock directly beneath the crushed, vertical ships, the light and sound do not reflect. The data maps a colossal, perfectly geometric, hollow void hidden directly beneath the solid tectonic crust, an architectural impossibility in the most violently active subduction zone on the planet. Sediment core drills return samples that defy millions of years of biological reality. Extracting mud from directly beneath the graveyard reveals perfectly preserved, vibrant green, unfossilized terrestrial plant matter sitting under 300 atmospheres of crushing saltwater pressure. It suggests the impossible, that the forces operating here can completely bypass geological time. But the most profound scientific unknown is the physical behavior of gravity itself. Between the towering, rusted walls of the supertankers, we have mapped hyper-localized, 10-meter-wide optical distortions. Inside these invisible spheres, gravity is completely inverted. Massive, multi-ton steel anchor chains float perfectly upward, pulled taut towards the surface, while heavy crude oil drops into the sky. When we fire dual laser grids to map this space, the theoretical models lie perfectly flat, while the actual measured physical lasers violently warp, tear, and bend back on themselves in impossible fractal shapes. And then there's the boundary. The impossible physics of the Dragon's Triangle do not slowly fade away. They end at a razor-sharp, terrifyingly precise, invisible vertical line. A massive cargo ship can be perfectly suspended vertically inside the zone, while a second ship rests completely flat and undisturbed in normal water just 10 meters away. Tracer dye fired across this invisible boundary is violently, instantly ripped downward, completely rejecting the fluid dynamics of the surrounding ocean. Multi-million-dollar monitoring stations deployed exactly on this line are instantly, violently crushed and melted on one side while remaining perfectly pristine on the other. The deepest unanswered question lies at the very bottom of the tectonic chasm. Deep beneath the magma vents is a massive, perfectly circular, impossibly deep hole bored directly into the Earth's mantle. It swallows all light, it consumes all sonar, and at massive, rhythmic intervals, it violently inhales thousands of tons of freezing abyssal water perfectly straight down into the absolute darkness. We do not know what powers this massive planetary-scale engine. We do not know what lies at the bottom of the void. And the terrifying truth is, human science may never possess the tools to find out.
Why does the Dragon's Triangle matter to a world that exists miles above its crushing depths? Because the ocean is not a series of isolated environments. It is a single, massive, interconnected circulatory system. The terrifying physics operating at the bottom of the Izu-Ogasawara Trench do not stay buried in the dark. The colossal, hypersaline, toxic upwellings generated by the exposed magma and the crushed, rusting steel of hundreds of massive ships are caught in the powerful Kuroshio current. This highly acidic, heavy metal-rich water is carried horizontally for hundreds of miles, acting as a massive, invisible chemical weapon. When this toxic current finally collides with the fragile, vibrant coral reef ecosystems off the coast of Japan, the result is instantaneous, catastrophic bleaching and death. The anomaly actively poisons the upper ocean, threatening the very top of the global marine food chain. But the legacy of this cursed coordinate is most profoundly felt by human civilization. The global economy is entirely dependent on the safe passage of colossal, ultra-large crude carriers and massive cargo fleets through these precise waters. When the intense, expanding magnetic anomaly destroys early warning buoys and blinds satellite navigation, it forces the entire multi-billion-dollar global supply chain to physically bend around the hazard. Deep-sea fiber optic cables, the physical backbone of the internet, must be heavily armored and routed in massive, inefficient arcs to avoid the violent tectonic shredding of the trench. We do not conquer the Dragon's Triangle. We are forced to build the modern world around its terrifying borders. And the danger is aggressively expanding. The immense, concentrated weight of the vertical steel graveyard is physically crushing the fragile tectonic plates, causing massive basalt walls to violently fracture and collapse. As these walls fall, they erase irreplaceable paleomagnetic records, the ancient million-year history of the Earth's shifting magnetic poles, violently destroyed in seconds. Unique, extremophile biological communities found nowhere else on the planet are instantly vaporized by deep-sea steam explosions as the Earth's crust literally unzips beneath them. When we return to the surface, looking down at the massive spinning whirlpool illuminated by the dying sun, our understanding is permanently altered. It is not just an oceanic hazard, it is a violently active planetary-scale engine of destruction. Down in the absolute crushing darkness, the twisted, glowing ruins of human engineering lie silent on the exposed bedrock. The massive magnetic field holds the surviving steel monoliths perfectly rigid in the freezing currents. The Dragon's Triangle is not a mystery to be solved. It is a monument to the unstoppable, violent supremacy of the Earth, waiting patiently in the dark for the next ship to cross the line. Sediment core drills return samples that defy millions of years of biological reality. Extracting mud from directly beneath the graveyard reveals perfectly preserved, vibrant green, unfossilized terrestrial plant matter sitting under 300 atmospheres of crushing saltwater pressure. It suggests the impossible, that the forces operating here can completely bypass geological time. But the most profound scientific unknown is the physical behavior of gravity itself. Between the towering, rusted walls of the vertically suspended supertankers, we have mapped hyper-localized, 10-meter-wide optical distortions. Inside these invisible spheres, gravity is completely inverted. Massive, multi-ton steel anchor chains float perfectly upward, pulled taut toward the surface, while heavy crude oil drops fall into the sky. When we fire dual laser grids to map this space, the theoretical models lie perfectly flat, while the actual measured physical lasers violently warp, tear, and bend back on themselves in impossible fractum shapes. And then there is the boundary. The impossible physics of the Dragon's Triangle do not slowly fade away. They end at a razor-sharp, terrifyingly precise, invisible vertical line. A massive cargo ship can be perfectly suspended vertically inside the zone, while a second ship rests completely flat and undisturbed in normal water just 10 meters away. Tracer dye fired across this invisible boundary is violently, instantly ripped downward, completely rejecting the fluid dynamics of the surrounding ocean. Multi-million-dollar monitoring stations deployed exactly on this line are instantly violently crushed and melted on one side, while remaining perfectly pristine on the other. The deepest unanswered question lies at the very bottom of the tectonic chasm.
Deep beneath the magma vents is a massive, perfectly circular, impossibly deep hole bored directly into the Earth's mantle. It swallows all light, it consumes all sonar, and at massive, rhythmic intervals, it violently inhales thousands of tons of freezing abyssal water perfectly straight down into the absolute darkness. We do not know what powers this massive, planetary-scale engine. We do not know what lies at the bottom of the void. And the terrifying truth is, human science may never possess the tools to find out.